Obviously, Bitcoin's off to a good start this year. But you sent out a tweet and you said, I don't know what it will do over the next year, but the asset I am most interested over the next decade remains Bitcoin. And so when you're looking out maybe 2 years, 5 years, 10 years, you're still pretty bullish on Bitcoin. And I just wanted to hear, Lyn Alden's bullish take for Bitcoin. Like why do you think it's so interesting? And when you look out and you put it against this entire macroeconomic backdrop, why Bitcoin?
So I think ultimately it solves a lot of problems with money. I mean, one of the things I've been working on over the past year is a book on money, and it's really a book about the technology of money over time. And a big problem that humanity has had for like literally a century and a half is that we figured out how to speed up our transactions. So ever since we invented the telegraph and then started laying the cables under bodies of water. So the UK and France were connected in like the 1850s. And then by the late 1860s, you got United States and Europe, cross-Atlantic cables. And then from there, we got it across the Pacific, and so you could send information. That was the first time we could send information really at the speed of light. Prior to that, information had to move at the speed of people. Whereas now we could send information, within seconds and minutes, and so we could update ledgers around the world, instantaneously. And of course, we added the telephone, we added the internet, e-commerce, all that. Whereas settlements were still slow. And so even during the classical gold standard, which is known as a good period of monetary history, it was ultimately unstable. There were way more gold IOUs trading rapidly around there compared to the amount of gold in the system, in large part because of how efficient transactions and netting were compared to the underlying metal. Um, and then you had the Bretton Woods system that broke. It's often talked about how it was formed in 1944, but that was just the conference. It didn't really go into full effect until like 1958, and then within like 13 years it broke.
Yeah.
It's like basically all these ways, all these like bad systems to try to close that gap between transactions and settlements. And so what I think Bitcoin represents is the first time where you have settlements that move at the speed of light or almost the speed of light. And so that's the first time where that fundamental mismatch is solved. Um, and it's now, it's been a while. I mean, at first when I saw Bitcoin, like, more than a decade ago, I was like, that's neat, but, who knows? I don't know if that was going to be the winner. I don't know what this market's going to look like. But as Bitcoin has proved itself, as it's been shown to be truly decentralized, as it's gotten through various conflicts, and as it's retained so much market share, I think it's increasingly clear that just Bitcoin is a key solution to money. And the world's been stuck in this like local maximum, right? So obviously, the invention of telecommunication systems is a good thing, but it did leave us with a situation where gold and silver are not effective money. Central banks have a monopoly on practically on money. There's 160 different fiat currencies approximately, and each one is like a monopoly in its own area. But then, other than the top, say, five, there's very limited salability anywhere else in the world for that country's currency. I have Egyptian pounds in the drawer next to me, and good. I like around here in New Jersey. Like, good luck for me trying to like have someone take them off my hands for me. I have Norwegian currency, which is obviously a stronger currency, but even there, the saleability is terrible here. It's,
Yeah.
it's really only dollars and euros and a couple others that have any sort of reasonable saleability outside of their own countries, and so we've been kind of stuck in this like barter system, with the invention of fiat currencies, and gold and silver just been too slow to ever reassert themselves and say, hey, here's we don't have to use these crappy currencies. We can use gold and silver. The problem is they're just too slow. And so I'm bullish on Bitcoin because I think it does truly solve the problem. It's held up against all sorts of different macro environments, all sorts of different technical challenges. Um, and there's so much building on it happening, right? They say building happens in bear markets. And I've been watching that closely. I mean, I'm involved somewhat in venture. So I get to see what founders are building. And it's just super exciting. I mean, one of the things I'm most excited about is the stuff going on with Fedi and Fediment,
Yeah.
and that whole ecosystem. But just beyond that, there's just so many things that are being built, and I think that the world's just not ready for it yet. And I think that that'll materialize in the years ahead. And of course, any given 6-month period, Bitcoin's price is going to be tied to liquidity. So a handful of choices between Yellen and Powell and a few others can probably move the price pretty substantially. So I don't really try to make 6 month predictions, but I think the floor is probably in, and I think we're headed higher in the years ahead.